One Piece Chapter 1159, The Island of Destiny, is about the beginnings of the God Valley incident. We see the players Rox, Roger, Garp, and we see how big of a role Shaki played in this battle. But most of all, we get a big revelation on Rox and Blackbeard's lineage, one they may completely change how we view those characters. We got one of the greatest chapters I've seen in the last few hundred chapters, and Oda has been on a heater ever since he started this flashback, so let's get right into it. We start the chapter off at the island of Hachinosu 39 years ago from the present. We find out that Shaki has been kidnapped from Pirate Island and some of the Rox pirate members were killed in the process. The Rox pirates are all in shambles. They don't quite understand how something like this could have happened under their nose. Rox and Whitebeard are completely dumbfounded. In a matter of hours, she was abducted with no trace left behind. And Roger is also furious that Rox let this happen right under his nose, and he vows to take him out. Rayleigh is visibly frustrated that his girl was taken from him. But it's not just them. The entire world at the time was shaken from this news, with people falling into despair, and even the world economy was affected by Shaki's disappearance. She was really the queen of the world. One whole year has passed and we're at God Valley. Biggerling Garling has come back to take care of some loose ends. His woman is awaiting with their 2 babies in the stroller, and she's extremely happy that Garling has come back. So the first thing she does is introduce Shanks and Shamrock to him, because it looks like this is the first time that he's seen his kids. Shanks' mom asks Garling to stay behind with her, but unbeknownst to her, Garling has already made up his mind on what he's about to do. He's already placed Shaki as a treasure for the upcoming manhunt that will take place in God Valley, and he hopes to marry her upon winning said competition. Then we see Navy ships make landfall at God Valley, and Garling stabs his woman in the stomach right in front of their 2 kids. If you thought Garling couldn't get more despicable, well, here you go. He's one character that is really being set up as one of the primary antagonists in the final war, and with everything he's caused to happen, I can see Shanks taking out Garling in the final war, if he makes it there. But you see Navy soldiers infiltrating and surrounding the island, and they've been given orders to use tranquilizers to subdue the people resisting. Their primary goal is to capture the people, and you see one Navy officer questioning the top brass, being like, why is such an operation even taking place in the first place? And the commanding officers are like, it's a training exercise, why are you even questioning our orders? And this new trainee is astonished by how they're treating regular ordinary civilians, and wouldn't you happen to know it, this Marine trainee is none other than Monkey D. Dragon. Wow, Dragon was really in God Valley, and I think this was when he first realized what a shady organization the world government really was and how they operated. And seeing this, perhaps he realized that he couldn't effectively liberate people from their afflictions by simply being a Marine. Thus, he started the Revolutionary Army. In a Navy ship, we see slaves being transported, and we see that some of them in the ship were Ivankov, Guinea, and Kuma. It looks like they're using informants to sneak information in and out of the ship. The other slaves in the ship, however, don't like that Ivankov is secretly using informants, but Ivankov is like, do you really not want to find out where we're being shipped to? One must put an effort if they want to be saved. We're not going to just stumble upon a miracle, they say. And Kuma is just sitting there pleasantly surprised that there are some of them who are still not giving up hope and looking to be free. Their fiery spirit burns onwards and upwards. Next, we get a surprise appearance of Big News Morgans in his younger days, where he's extorting the Cyberpol Bureau of money by withholding the news of Shaki's whereabouts and the takeover of God Valley. He blackmails the agents for some money, but in his mind, he already knows that he'll leak the info to the Rox pirates anyway. So the Rox pirates find out about where Shaki is held, and for many of them it's a sigh of relief, because at least they know now that she's at least alive. So we have all the crew just excited and joyful finding this out. But you see Wang Zi disgusted because he was the one that ratted the location of Shaki to the world government. So he's like, are you sure that this source is trustworthy? Can we really follow this? They learn the details about what's taking place in God Valley. They find out that their beloved Shaki is serving as a prize in a manhunt tournament, which even surprises Whitebeard. Whitebeard thought the concept was merely a myth, so even he couldn't believe that the world government did something like this. And you see Big Mom plotting to take the devil fruits that will be up for display, and she even asks Kaido if he wants one. Kaido wants to know what exactly these devil fruits do before making the selection, and Big Mom says something interesting when she says that these fruits will be perfect for my kids. We know that in God Valley there were 2 devil fruits in the Fish Fruit Dragon model, one eventually wielded by Kaido, and the Paw fruit, which will be wielded by Kuma. Now imagine if Katakuri, instead of having the Logia fruit Mochi Mochi, he had the dragon fruit or the Paw fruit. Imagine just how strong he would be with those fruits. He's already a first commander level with the mochi fruit. I think with Kuma's fruit, he could be rivaling Yonko's perhaps, which is a scary thought because she almost had it, and it would have if it weren't for Kuma. But anyway, hearing this news of Shaki's whereabouts, Rox only wants to do one thing, go in there and save her, even though he knows it's likely a trap. And Roger is saying the same things to his crew. They have to be the ones to go to God Valley and save Shaki. And Rayleigh is of course motivated to get his woman back. And with Roger heading to that island, Garp was bound to head there as well. So it's funny how Morgan's leaking that info led to Rox heading to God Valley, which led to Roger heading there, which led to Garp heading there also. It's like fate demanded these three legends of the era to mobilize and intertwine at God Valley. And later we find out that Dragon is there as well. It really feels like every major player of the current era was there, and the events that took place there shaped the 40 years after on. In the next page, we see Harold's giant ship intercept Rox on his way to God Valley. Harold says he's there on the order of the world government to stop him before he gets there. Rox tells him that this really isn't going to win you any points with the world government. He realizes that Harold is trying to change Elbaf's reputation in the world by allying with the world government, but the entity that he is trying to side with isn't trustworthy enough to do that. Rox asks Harold to share a drink with him, and that's when he reveals to Harold that his name is actually not Rox D. Zebek, but Davy D. Zebek. Davy is the name of a clan that the world government has tried to cover up for a long time, and they're believed to be the descendants of the legendary pirate Davy D. Jones. The Davy clan have been persecuted by the world government for decades, it seems, so much that their members had to survive in the underworld trying to eke out a living. And that explains somewhat how Zebek grew to become the man he was, there with those radical ideals. But something changed for Zebek. 2 years ago, he had a kid, and to ensure that they didn't get in the crossfire because of his doing, he sent them to his homeland and told them to get help from the Davy clan. God Valley is actually the home of Zebek, Blackbeard, and the Davy clan. And that is what Garling found out when he first visited the island, and why he had children with one of the women there. This could mean that Shanks and Shamrock are also a Davy, which probably means that Blackbeard and Shanks, in some way, in some convoluted and distant line, could be related to each other, which is pretty insane. And even if they aren't related, I think their mothers could have known each other and have had some kind of relationship. So there's a hint of tragedy and irony when we see Blackbeard and Shanks on opposing sides in the current world. And this will surely be heightened if Shanks gets killed by Blackbeard before the end of the series. But in any event, Garling and the elders wanted to capture God Valley so they could take out the entire Davy lineage. But Zebek is saying that the Celestial Dragons didn't plan on having him there. He feels as if fate is pulling the strings to bring him to his hometown. But then you get the reason why Zebek is walking himself into a trap. He wants to save his wife and kid who are housed there. He knows he's up against the ropes and fate is not on his side, but he can put up a better fight if he had Harold by his side. So he asks Harold to lend him his aid, but Harold refuses and says he would rather fight him instead. And so Zebek and Harold fight, and Zebek blows up Harold's ships and leaves. And now I know most people are probably bummed out by Harold's decision to challenge Zebek, simply wanting to save his family. They hate the idea that Harold is siding with the world government, who from our eyes are the ultimate evil of the world. But to them I say, you're not looking at it from his perspective. Put yourself in his shoes. He's a king, and he has an entire country behind him. He's a giant who has been maligned and persecuted for centuries. The Galilee, an ancient giant group of shipwrights, were forcibly captured and frozen and tested on. The entire world, ironically, looks down on the giant race, and even marines like Sengoku and Suru think it would be very hard for them to coexist with humans. And now imagine Harold, who's so desperately trying to change the perception and standing of the giants around the world, allying himself with a horrible criminal like Zebek and their pirate group. Imagine how that would look not for him, but for his people in Elbaf. He just couldn't risk that being his legacy, so this was a no-brainer choice for him. The world government may be a shady organization, but they also do good in the world by establishing an order in the world. They do good which we cannot see. The average Marine is making a positive impact on the world, but of course from the reader's point of view, they will think that all of them are no good tyrants. But it's not so black and white. And that is why Harold made a stand. Back to God Valley, we see the tear gas affecting people as they cry their eyes out for help. And the narrator provides some exposition. We find out that every 3 years, the Celestial Dragons pick an island with abundant resources and affiliated with the world government, where they host a manhunt, slaughtering all of the natives. And finally, we have arrived at the God Valley incident. We see Shaki presented as the grand prize of the event in front of the many celestial dragons, and every one of them is thirsty to get a piece of her. One of them even commands Saint Somers to bring her into the Somers family, but Garling lets him know that he intends to make her his wife. And we also see Gunko there, which is cool to see because these guys are who we are currently dealing with in the present time on Elbaf. But then we see Dragon witnessing a young woman bleeding out, and she tells him to get her children and get off the island and to not let him have them. This is likely Shank's mom, and she's likely talking about Garling, which means Dragon was the one who saved Shanks and Shamrock from Garling's clutches in God Valley. But I want to know why Garling just left her after stabbing her. Why didn't he finish the job, and how did she make it to this place while bleeding out? And did Garling just leave his kids on the stroller, or did he take them someplace safe? I want to know where exactly they are when Dragon finds them. But in the next page, we see another Davy. We see a young Blackbeard and her mom. She tells her crying baby, "Come here, Teach, it's alright. You have to live through this." And judging from her shackles and the bars in the background, they're locked in some kind of jail. It looks like the Holy Knights mobilized to capture and lock away the remaining members of the Davy clan in preparation for the manhunt. So the Celestial Dragons announce to everyone that they not only have a buccaneer slave in Kuma, but also the Davy people who have been missing for 800 years. This time frame immediately makes me think of Joy Boy and the Void Century. It's very likely that the Davy clan were allied with Joy Boy and his crew. Remember, Joy Boy was the first pirate, and knowing the mythology behind Davy Jones, I wouldn't be surprised if we find out that he's one of Joy Boy's crewmates, which is why the government were so adamant about finding these people. So many revelations were made in this chapter, so many players all in one place, and so many questions running through my mind. Guys, let me know what you all thought about this chapter. Did you like it? Did you not? Rate it in the comments down below. Like and subscribe. Turn the bell notification on to get updated instantly for new uploads. And I'll catch you all in the next one. Much love and peace.